What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Ghetto Program for video number 5. Today I got a little treat for y'all. I created this little program called Spaz. Basically, it's a program that cycles through colors at a set interval using a timer and a custom method. And let me go ahead and run it for you all and show you guys what it does. It's very simple. All it does is just flashes through random colors at a set interval. In this case, 500 milliseconds, which you can, type in on the fly, and it'll do any speed that you give it. That's an integer 64, and that's pretty much it. It has a extra mode down here called rainbow mode, which I currently have checked. If I turn this off, it flashes red and blue. This may be a good or a bad thing depending on who you are. So I'll probably discourage doing that, but I created this for myself. I just wanted to share it with you all, and so I just want to start this over with you guys and have everyone follow along as I reprogram this and kind of rebuild it together. So let's go ahead and get started doing that. We're going to close this project here. Close the solution. And this is a WinForm app. So you want to go to New, Project, Windows Form Application. Let's change the name of this. We're going to call it Flasher. Alright. So now that we have this up, now we have our base form. We're going to start off by adding 2 buttons. Button 1 here, we're going to go and rename this button from button 1 to start. We also want to change the ID and call it button start. Alright. We're going to add another button. And this button here is going to be called button stop. Let's change the text of it as well. Stop. Alright. And let's go ahead and drag these down to the bottom. And now we need to add a control to this little form that we will alternate the colors on. I guess the quickest way in this example would be maybe another button. Alright, let's take this button and drag it across the form and make it nice and big. Alright, and we're going to change the text of this to something, I don't know, let's smiley face. Alright, and let's give this a default back color here in the properties. Let's change it to black. Alright, so now that we have that, one more thing, we will need a timer for this. And the reason why we'll need a timer for this, timer control, is we want to create some code that gets executed at a set time. It will help us out tremendously in alternating our colors. So I drag the timer to the form. You can't see it, but it'll be down here in this panel. Let's click that and go to the properties of that. Right now it's at 100 milliseconds. Let's change that to 500. Alright, so now our basic layout is done. Our design is pretty much done. At this point, we can come back and tweak it later. Let's go ahead and get to the code. Alright, to start things out, let's double click this start button. Alright, I'm going to increase the font a little bit. I had a few viewers complaining about not being able to see. I'm going to try to make it a little better for everyone, so I increased the font. Alright, so if we go back for a second to the design and go to this timer, let's look at the properties real quick. Enabled, you see that? Enabled by default is false, so that's not good. We're going to leave this false, but when we click start, we want to make the enabled for that true. So let's go back to the code and let's go ahead and do that. So we'll type in timer1 dot enabled equal true, just like that. Okay, we're done with that. And for stop, we will do the complete opposite. Timer1 dot enabled equal false, just like that. Okay. Alright, now we want to create some code for this timer. So let's double click that. Now we have timer1 tick. Okay. Now let's go down. We're going to create a custom method, and what this method is going to do, we're going to store all the logic for this application in this custom method. So let's call this private void cycle. And all the logic for what we're going to do is going to be in this guy. And we're going to have the timer call cycle, just like that. Alright, so now we're almost done. Now we got to create the logic to alternate the colors. Okay, so by default we have the back color of this button as black. So we already know that. So the best way, in my opinion, to do this, well, you can do this in two ways, but in this example I'm going to use an if statement. So we're going to say if let's see, actually let me see, I did not name this, so I need to go back and name this for a second. Alright, let's call this button color. Alright, let's go back to the code. So if button color dot color, or back color, equals black, or excuse me, color dot black, then we wanted to execute some code here. Alright, we want to execute some code here. So what we want to do is change this color to something else. So we want to take our code, copy and paste it here, change the color from black to, let's change it to green. Alright, so we have that as green. Okay, now we need an else if. So since we now have the code looking for the color black, we want the else if to look for the color green. So it'll pick up the color green, and if it's the color green, we want it to change it back to black. So let's copy and paste this code here and say color black, just like that. And that's pretty much it. So let's review for a second. If you click button start, it will enable the timer. If you click button stop, it will disable the timer. And when the timer is started, it will fire this event called cycle. And cycle looks at the color, the back color of that button. If it's black, change it to green. Else if it's already green, change it to black again. So now we're pretty much done. Hit F6 on your keyboard to build it and make sure it's build succeeded. Hit down here at the bottom, make sure it builds properly. And if you don't want to use F6, you can click build in the menu and click build solution, and it'll do the same thing. So here's our app. Let's go ahead and start this up. And if everything works properly, when I click start, you will see it flash from black to green, then black to green, then black to green. It works. Simple, right? So that's pretty much how my spaz program worked, except I added a few more things to it. I added a text box to where you can enter a number, and it will check that number and make the timer go faster or slower based off that. I'll probably save that for another video. I don't want this video to go a little too long. But that's pretty much it. And if we click start, it stops it. And that's pretty much it. Very simple. Very basic coding going on here. This will be the most complex, but everything else is pretty straightforward. So that's it. Here's our flasher, and see you guys next time. This is GP out.